peaceful day in Chiang Rai. In Chiang Rai, Thailand, we woke up at Lake Hill Resort. After offering our prayers and freshening up, my wife and I went out for a morning walk. It was 7:15 a.m. when we started, and we returned at 7:50 a.m. At 8 o'clock a.m., we headed to the kitchen for breakfast. By 8:40 a.m., my wife, her father, and I were driven by her younger brother to Mae Fah Luang University, arriving there around 9 o'clock a.m. We explored the campus, took some memorable photos, and toured the university's vast grounds by car. We then returned to Lake Hill Resort at around 10:30 a.m. We spent some quiet time resting in our room until 12:50 p.m. when my wife, her father, and I had lunch together in her father's room. We enjoyed a meal prepared by my wife. In the afternoon, we took a relaxing break, followed by swimming in the pool later in the evening. Dinner was a shared and delightful gathering, after which we rested for the night. During this time, the weather in Chiang Rai was cool and pleasant, making the day even more enjoyable.
Journey Diary, Episode 8. On the morning of December 27, 2024, we woke up at Lake Hill Resort in Chiang Rai, Thailand. I got out of bed around 7 o'clock a.m., prayed, freshened up, and prepared for the day with my wife. We left for a morning walk at 7:26 a.m., returning to the resort by 8:05 a.m. By 8:20 a.m., we headed to the kitchen for breakfast. At approximately 9:30 a.m., we bid farewell to a group of 4 heading back to Bangkok. My wife's younger brother drove them to the airport. Meanwhile, we prepared to leave for Tachalek later that day. Around 12 o'clock p.m., we had lunch at Chiang Rai Restaurant and Coffee Shop with my wife's youngest brother's family, 5 members from Australia, her elder brother's family, 3 members, her father, my wife, and myself. At about 12:45 p.m., the car we had rented to travel to Mae Sai arrived. We loaded our belongings into the car and left Lake Hill Resort at 12:52 p.m. My wife's elder brother's children stayed back at the resort, planning to travel to Bangkok by car the next day. The Australian family accompanied us in their rental car to Mae Sai. We arrived in Mae Sai at around 1:38 p.m. and collected our identification documents and tickets for crossing back into Myanmar at the Transport Center, TPC. Afterward, we headed to the shuttle station for a trip to the Ong Zaya Pagoda and Glass Bridge, returning the car we rented from Chiang Rai for 800 baht. We temporarily stored our belongings in the Australian family's car and purchased shuttle tickets to the pagoda. The fare was 40 baht per person for a round trip. The shuttle ride took about 5 minutes. At the top, we took memorable photographs near the pagoda. Then, we purchased tickets for the Glass Bridge crossing, costing 50 baht per person. At the entrance, we were given shoe covers, which we returned after crossing. We captured more photos on the Glass Bridge before descending back by shuttle. After returning to the parking area, my wife's younger brother and I retrieved our belongings from the car and transported them to a spot near Mae Sai Bridge. The rest of the group waited near the bridge. The Australian family departed for Chiang Rai, continuing their journey to Bangkok and Australia in the following days. Meanwhile, my wife, her father, her elder brother, and I crossed the Mae Sai Bridge on foot, entering Tachalek, Myanmar. We submitted our crossing tickets and were greeted by my wife's elder brother's friend, who arrived in his car. He drove us to the Department of Livestock and Veterinary's compound, where we spent the night at their guest house. The following day, we planned to return to Yangon by flight. This concludes the account of our trip to Chiang Rai and Tachalek.